place type of systems like the Supreme Court was talking about a couple weeks ago. We made sure to put them on the path for the text and email notifications, the ballot tracking system that we created here in Maricopa County that tough road to hoe, but we're going to get it done. And with your help, we will make sure that we've got a Secretary of State who not only stands up against sedition and insurrection, but is willing to fight with joy for our democracy, for the integrity of this republic. And that's what I'm looking for. Now, a lot of times folks will say, well, doesn't the Secretary of State do a lot of other stuff? You bet. The Secretary of State is the chief archivist and the chief librarian for the state. The Secretary of State takes care of trademarks and a lot of other things that businesses need very specifically. You know what? It's not dissimilar to what the county recorder does. Because the county recorder doesn't just take care of elections, it takes care of a whole lot of other stuff. And we can get into all the details of all that other stuff at another time. But I want to make sure you've got plenty of time to ask questions if appropriate. And so I'm going to turn it back to you, Alex, after one more reminder. And I would certainly appreciate if someone could type it in because I'm actually on my phone here. The website is electfontes.com. And I certainly would appreciate y'all going, signing up, get some notifications, and chip in a bit here and there if you like. We're going to need it, and we need your support. Thank you. Alex?
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Adrian. Here's your first question. What are your thoughts on the audit data that was just released last week?
You know, I don't know what audit data was released because anything that comes out of this thing that's called an audit is automatically garbage in my mind. This is not an audit. This is a sham created so that the people running it can make money off of unsuspecting Americans. And, you know, we've had snake oil salesmen in this country for a long time. And I'll tell you what, P.T. Barnum is looking down or up from wherever he is right now, smiling his happy butt off because these jokers and charlatans have pulled the wool over the eyes of a lot of Americans. And you know what? I don't mind so much if people want to give their money away to somebody like that. What I do mind is that this time they're doing it at the expense of our democracy. They're doing it at the expense of the basic faith that American citizens have in our system. This is not an audit. And any data that comes out of this organization is garbage. Let me give you just one quick example. There was some nonsense that Doug Logan made about 74,000 or 76,000 found early ballots because there weren't that many. It was that many more early ballots than how many early vote by mail ballots came back. Well, Doug Logan forgets that we had early voting in person for 27 days before Election Day. And guess what? During the pandemic, a lot of people came in person because they knew that we had venues that were very large with multiple check-in stations at very big places where they could vote safely in person. And that's what happened. A lot of people voted early. They didn't send in their envelopes. So Doug Logan not only misunderstands that one point, but he's never had anything to do with elections. So if you want to take data from an unqualified, uncertified, unreliable, biased individual and call it audit data, I'm sorry, I have to politely and gently disagree with the framing of that question. What else you got, Alex?
All right. Here's a good one, timely. How will you get the Secretary of State's office power back after the legislature stripped the office of many of their duties?
Well, as I understand, that bill only lasts through the tenure of the current secretary. So once Secretary Hobbs leaves office, either to the governor's office or elsewhere, those powers will be back in the hands of the secretary. So I'm not running for the secretary's office as it exists now. I'm running for the secretary's office as it will exist at the beginning of 2023.
So maybe as a follow-up to clarify that one, Adrian, how do we ensure that doesn't happen again, that the legislature doesn't circumvent the will of the people?
Elect more Democrats.
There we go. All right. Here's a fun one. How can we get Phil the ballot to make a comeback?
Elect me. I mean, Phil the ballot is owned by Maricopa County, but I'll tell you something. He could have a cousin or a brother or a sister or a aunt or an uncle over at the Secretary of State's office. It was one of the most fun things that we did. And while I haven't spoken with Recorder Richard, I think there's only one member of the Board of Supervisors who is a bit of a killjoy. I mean, he's a basic stick in the mud. You guys know him out there, Steve Trooper. I think he represents you. He's the only one that had any complaints about it, but then he is humorless and annoying, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think Phil the ballot's got a long life ahead of him.
All this: if elected Secretary of State as next in line to fill a vacancy as governor, what makes you uniquely qualified to be governor?
Well, at the end of the day, what made Jan Brewer qualified to be governor or anybody else? That's probably not the best example since we weren't too happy with that. But look, I not only served in the United States Marine Corps and have a law degree, I've spent all my life here fighting for Arizona. And if people are asking me what my platform would be as governor, it would be to fulfill the will of the people. The people out there want teachers that are fully funded and supported, and they want an efficient education system that doesn't take money into unaccountable spaces, and that's code for folks who aren't getting audited. That needs to happen. As far as healthcare is concerned, I'm a proponent of universal healthcare. You pick your methodology, you pick what's best for folks, call it Medicaid for all, call it what you want. In my view, healthcare is a human right. And any society that claims to be humane and does not take care of their sick or their elderly is hypocritical. And that's just immoral. We've got to make sure that we take care of the folks in our society who are in need. There's plenty of wealth floating around to make sure that that happens. And the single most critical issue, in my view, has always been the environment, second only to elections. Because the environment is common to all of us, and we've seen very, very lately how horrible the situation really is. Across the entire country, across the world, climates are changing. I mean, for crying out loud, it was 115 degrees in Portland, Oregon, just 2 weeks ago. That's insanity. And we're living through it right now. Arizona should be powering the United States of America. Arizona should be completely powering the whole country. We've got so much sunshine here, we can just pour it out through the electrical grid. But at the end of the day, we've got to fight those special interests who are keeping us away from the progress that has defined us. Let me just say one more thing about that. One of the things that people forget is that when the Constitution of the state of Arizona was created in 1912, it was the single most progressive constitution in the country. And it remains so today. The people can act as a super legislature through the initiative and referenda that we have the right to exercise. We have an amazing set of criminal justice codes that are far more progressive than what I've personally seen when I was practicing law and prosecuting at the Denver DA's office. We're operating in the federal system here and in other places. At the end of the day, Arizona has its roots in moving forward. It doesn't really look back. We've created more innovations in the voting space, for example. We were the first state with online voter registration. We were one of the vanguards when it came to the permanent early vote list type of voting, no excuse absentee voting is what a lot of people call it. But we've got so many innovations here, and we've got so much forward progress here, we just never celebrated. And that's too bad. We were one of the first to have an independent redistricting commission. You were talking about that earlier. Arizona needs to get back to its roots, and its roots are inventiveness, progressiveness, and forward thinking for the benefit of all of our citizens.
Good. Here's our last question, something I like to reference a lot, but how will you educate the people of Arizona? And I'll put a caveat or a disclaimer here that maybe even before the election, there's a lot of misinformation out there. But Angela then asks something like schoolhouse rocks.
Well, Phil the Ballot is a distant cousin of Bill, who became law. Look, in all seriousness, you talk to people, right? I'm notorious for getting on Facebook Live and helping folks understand things. And Phil the Ballot was one of the ways that we reached out to people. We completely revamped the websites at the Elections Department and Recorder's Office. We won national awards for all that stuff. And let's be really clear. The Board of Supervisors and the current recorder are celebrating the systems that I created. And good for them. And good for the professionals who are still there, who can bask in the fact that their bosses now are celebrating the work that they did, even if it was under my leadership. Who cares? At the end of the day, we need communicators. We need leaders who are going to be able to stand in front of a crowd and imbue confidence, who are going to be able to speak with authority, knowledge, and really expertise from the kind of training that I have. And particularly where it comes to the systems that we have for our elections, there's nobody in this race nobody in this race that comes anywhere near having the qualifications that I have. It's not even close. And so if we want to educate people, we've got to have somebody that knows something about the subject matter. Don't you think?
You need somebody to tell the truth.
Well, that's good. Well, Adrian, I appreciate your time as always. You're always a dynamic speaker. I probably should have set you up to ask for donations or something, since you always rake in the big bucks for us. But nonetheless, is there anything else you wanted to leave us with? We did put in your website in here.
I appreciate that, Alex. And I do have a closing remark for everybody on this call. Legislative District 12 needs your financial support. It is absolutely imperative that the folks who organize this thing have the resources they need to keep this ball going, keep this thing growing. If you're watching right now and you have not donated, you need to get off your butt and you need to pitch in some dough. Not just to my campaign at electionwithus.com, where you can do that, but you got to make sure that Alex and the rest of the team have the equipment they need to keep moving things forward. LDs depend on you. The Maricopa County Democratic Party depends on you. The state Democratic Party does not fund this operation. A lot of people think that this part of the party, they must get money here. Alex, how much money have you gotten from the state Democratic Party in the last 12 months?
Zero.
Not a dime. And so it depends on you guys out there who are watching right now. So make sure that you pitch in. Alex, you're welcome. There's the answer.
Thank you so much, Adrian, as always. Well, that actually is our next speaker for tonight. Hopefully you all found that beneficial. I'll just close out with a couple last remarks specifically.
I warned you that the audio was not good on that. For those of you who stuck it through, thank you very much. But that was a copy of that meeting that we got from someone else that we I guess, I don't know, I guess I shouldn't have had it. So that was like unsent, that was like the raw footage, and I couldn't run it through something to kind of get the sounds right. Anyway, it would have taken too much time. Okay, so we heard lots of good stuff, and well, lots of stuff in there. I wouldn't say good, but it just shows you that there's really two trains of thought. A lot of the things that Adrian Fontes said, I kind of think very much the opposite on. I mean, there's plenty of elderly that can do fine on their own with their own private plans when it comes to healthcare. So I don't think it's, anyway, I don't want to get into the necessarily the nitty gritty and the politics, but just that, you know, I mean, I can speak for my mom. My mom always knew that her private plan that she had for years and years and years was going to be so much better than what she was going to have when she was older. So my point is that I think that the important thing when it comes to healthcare, I think this is really important, is taking care of yourself. The older we get, the more we feel what it's like to break down, and you really have to. You should try to teach your kids to take care of themselves from the beginning. I mean, I know I'm a victim. I grew up on a lot of processed foods because I had two parents that were out working all the time. I get it. We didn't have the good foods. We didn't have the home cooked meals. But now what do I have to do? I have to be extra careful when it comes to what I eat, what I put into my body. My doctor wants me no chocolate martinis whatsoever. So anyway, so that's healthcare. And then he touched on the environment a little. Yes, we all care about the environment, but you know, to what extent does global warming, you know, to what extent is it taking down, you know, society? A great example that I always hear, now forget about the things that, the buildings that collapsed in Miami. I mean, yes, that was a tragedy, but if global warming was as big of a thing as they're saying, why are all these investors building these massive complexes right on the coastlines around the country. Just a question to ask, you know. So we got the global warming, and then all this stuff on the voting, changing it to voting centers instead of being local at the precinct. Again, it's just two very different trains of thought. But I really believe the reason I am a conservative is because I believe that my train of thought is closer to what this country was founded on. I don't think that government intervention into our lives is like a God-given right. I think that having the government help out when people are in need is, I mean, I think many of you think the same way. It's basically, it's great to have a safety net, but that doesn't mean everyone needs the safety net. So here's a great example. I got a letter. I got a letter from the White House. Oh, wait, I should read it to you. I'm going to read it at 7 p.m. tonight. I got a letter from the White House on what they're going to do for me. I did not ask for any type of assistance, and yet I got a letter from the White House telling me what they're going to do for me. And again, I'm going to read that at 7 o'clock tonight. Oh, no, wait. Yeah, okay. I'm going to have to try to figure this out because I'm out speaking tonight, but I will have a 7 o'clock broadcast. That will be on Liz Harris, 7 p.m. What I'll do is I'll pre-record it and then I'll play it at 7 o'clock. Wow, I just thought that one through. So that's going to be the letter from the White House. It's going to be on Liz Harris, 7 p.m. It'll be a premiere release. And I want you to hear what the letter from the White House said. Okay, I keep repeating myself. Okay, I think that was a pretty good comedy hour. We're not quite at the hour. We're at the 50-minute mark, but I think you heard me enough today. As my friend Michael says, I really know how to fill up an hour. Well, it was great seeing you all. Thank you for dealing with that poor audio quality. I hope you know what I mean when I say that, you know, I'm alluding to, I don't think healthcare is a God-given right for every single person. Like for me, for example, I would rather have more naturopathic healthcare and other forms of healthcare, and that's not even an option for me. So, yeah. Anyway, I have so much to talk about on health and healthcare. And I just want to remind everyone, in my earlier videos, I told you guys that my TPO score, which showed that my autoimmune system was attacking itself, it was off the charts high. And all I had to do was make dietary changes, no drugs, dietary changes, and it normalized. All right, let me get to the end of this broadcast. May Arizona be the first domino to fall. Love you all. God bless you all. Have a fabulous day. And remember, 7 p.m., I'm going to read my letter from the White House.